I watched my mom struggle with fibroids. Derrick, just imagine your wife, your mom, getting their whole uterus taken out and no longer being able to conceive. I demanded an ultrasound because I had flashbacks of my mom struggling with fibroids. There was a quarter-sized fibroid on my uterus. Generational trauma is a thing.
Where did you get the solution you are giving people now?
The solution is called the unique.
By the age of 50, nearly 80% of women of African descent may develop fibroids. Coach Phyllis, known as the Fibroid Queen, was once in that very battle. She's helped hundreds of women reclaim their health and fertility, all without going under the knife. Let's dive into her powerful story and proven methods.
This is my before and after.
So this was Fibroid Queen before. How long did it take you to go from here to here?
So that took about. So this is a uterus. Fibroids can be as small as a pea to as big as a watermelon. I did all the things and I still ended up with large fibroids. What is it? I realized that
Hello, awesome people. You're welcome to Connected Minds podcast. And again, my name is Derrick, Abaitey. And thank you so much for your support. Today's conversation is quite different, but it's needed. So I'm going to let the guest herself talk a lot about herself and how she got into, this whole business that she's doing and how she's helping a lot of women. She'll talk about that. So stick with me and don't leave. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah. I'm doing fantastic. On all your socials, you are called the Fibroid Queen. A queen indeed.
Yeah.
If you sum up everything you do, what would you say about yourself?
If I summed up everything that I do, I would sum up that I help empower our women to step in their power. Empower to step in their power. And what that means is really helping women tap into who they truly should be and how they should walk on this journey called life. And once we do that, the whole world as a whole could be in a better place when we as women step into our power. So that's what I do. I empower for women to step into their power.
I read the statistics, right? And it says that between 20 to 70% of women develop fibroids through their reproductive years.
Yeah.
And some studies also suggest that about 80% of women of African ancestry may also have fibroids by the age of 50. That's a huge number, 80%. Yeah. Why did you get on this journey?
Well, it started with myself. Very young, I was dealing with fibroids, but also at the tender age of 7, 8 years old, I watched my mom struggle with fibroids. So this journey started a long time ago at home, being raised in a Ghanaian household. When it came to working hard, that wasn't a choice. My parents worked tirelessly to make a living for us. So working, hard, chronic stress was my reality. And when I learned that my mom ended up getting a hysterectomy for small fibroids, I was confused. Because as a child, I'm thinking, why does mom spend so much time in the bathroom? Why is the toilet paper always gone, right? Why are we always, running out of toilet paper? Why is she so mad all the time, not knowing she was dealing with a lot of pain? So heavy flow, low libido, constantly wanting to chew ice, fatigue, bloating, they all represent signs of an hormonal imbalance. And hormonal imbalance is what leads to fibroids. It's like a prerequisite. And this journey started with myself. However, realizing that there is another way, because being told that I had uterine fibroids wasn't something that just happened. It was searched. It was based on an experience. So I knew the familiarity with the symptoms. So when I told my doctor, hey, I'm dealing with some heavy flow, I'm in nursing school, not only was I stressed, but I was very, very tired. Completing my exams, was going to be a concern. So I demanded an ultrasound. Because I had flashbacks of my mom struggling with fibroids. So the doctor finally gave me an ultrasound. And this is what I want to tell women. If you notice you're dealing with any of these symptoms, low libido, painful sex, and your doctor is telling you that it's normal, it's part of being a woman, I want you to listen to your intuition and request for an ultrasound or MRI to confirm that you don't have any growths on your uterus. And the confirmation for me was there. There was a quarter-sized fibroid on my uterus. So I listened to my intuition and knew that there was something going on. Generational trauma is a thing. Poor diet, poor lifestyle choices, not enough recovery time, poor sleep is a thing. Fibroids don't just appear. They are a result of miscommunication between the mind, body, and spirit.
I see.
Yeah. So once I was told that, Phyllis, you have a fibroid, doctors said nothing about my dealings with chronic stress, nothing about my diet. How much sleep are you getting, Phyllis? It was like, oh, don't worry about it. Let's watch and wait. Unfortunately, that is a form of treatment, to just watch and wait. So, Derrick, I know this is a male-dominated podcast. I really want to give a logical, just approach to what traditional medicine, how traditional medicine regards fibroids, how the medical system regards fibroids. And if you think about weeds growing in your grass, okay? If you just take a lawnmower to mow the weeds in your grass, what happens? If you take a lawnmower just to mow the weeds in your grass, I'm asking you, what happens? What happens?
It cuts it on top of it, right?
Yeah, so if the lawnmower mows the weeds, right, weeds will grow back, right? So
it doesn't actually get to the root of it.
Doesn't actually get to the root of it. That is fibroids. So this is where the traditional way of things falls short, because what is happening is women are getting fibroids simply just cut off their uterus, but we're not addressing the soil. And that's what I had to do. I realized that even as a personal trainer for years, I did bodybuilding. I learned I had high cholesterol in my late 20s. After nursing school, I learned that I had this fibroid on my uterus. I was told to watch and wait. I was like, I have to do something. So I started to work out. I joined a gym, got a personal trainer. I even got a competition coach that I ran into. And this coach was able to empower me to start competing. That was something I would never thought I would do, but I was so determined to address this fibroid and my lifestyle after nursing school that I was like, let me do anything that I can. So I joined bodybuilding, and I was competing for about 8 years.
Why did you think that was important? Oh.
It was important for me because I've always been one to challenge myself.
Was that helping with the diagnosis that has just been given to you?
Yeah, so I assumed it would. I assumed it would. I also assumed that it would help with the high cholesterol that I was told that I had as well. See, Derrick, I did not want to get on any medications.
Why?
I feel that medications don't get to the root of the problem. I feel like it's just a Band-Aid. And completing nursing school, I realized that nursing is a very rewarding career, but I was strictly just working under being a pill pusher.
Okay.
Pushing pills, taking doctor's orders. See, deep down inside, as a nurse, I felt like I wasn't doing enough. That added to the stress. Because right after nursing school, I went into 2 jobs, right? Following my parents' foundation of working, work. So I jumped into working after nursing school. And after doing it for a couple years, it was just making me sick. I was taking care of sick people and I was getting sick.
At this point where you've been diagnosed with fibroids,
Yeah.
how bad was it?
I would say I was dealing with symptoms, but I can still operate. It wasn't to the point where it was taking over my life. And that's what we see a lot of women go through, right? If you catch it early, you're able to prevent it from growing, continuously growing, where it does cause problems and leaves you with limited options. Because hysterectomy is another thing that's happening amongst our women of color, African American women, where over 95% of hysterectomies are completely unnecessary. So, Derrick, just imagine your wife, your mom, getting their whole uterus taken out and no longer being able to conceive.
Actually, my mom's best friend had to go through that.
Yeah.
So she wasn't able to, conceive.
Yeah.
She had to. I don't know whether it was necessary at the time, but this was many years ago. So how did you then get to the point of, okay, this is the diagnosis. I've seen the ultrasound or CT scan, whatever scan, other scans that you did, to then saying that I'm going to go through the holistic approach.
Yeah.
And this is the results.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
So what came to mind, Derrick, is I thought, you know what? I learned a little bit from the medical system going through nursing school, okay? I'm determined, and I felt deep down inside there has to be another way. The doctor told me, just watch and wait, Phyllis, this is part of being a woman. I thought about my mom. I thought about my mom going through the pain and suffering with fibroids. That thought stayed with me. And I was like, I have to find a way to get rid of this growth on my uterus. So that was the feeling that I embodied that whole time. So it's hard to describe, but when you have a loved one that has dealt with a lot of pain, it never leaves your memory. So I use that as ammo to keep going. So I ended up competing for 8 years. That world became toxic because I was so worried about how I look. I didn't get first place. I thought, oh, my booty's too big. The judges say this, the judges say that. So that added more stress. So I was actually fueling the problem versus getting rid of it because of my mindset, because of my emotional health. So after 8 years, I was like, I can't do bodybuilding anymore. I need to stop competing. And after that, Derrick, I realized that I started to gain weight because I was like, okay, I can eat my favorite foods now, fufu, kenkeg, and start eating that again. I don't have to compete anymore. However, all the weight went to my midsection. And this is 8 years after being diagnosed with fibroids. So I kind of just forgot about it. I had did my wound wellness checkups in between. Doctors never said anything about the fibroids. And I kind of just forgot about it. And once I realized that I was gaining weight and it wasn't coming off, I immediately thought about my mom again. I was like, there's got to be something going on. It can't be the fibroids. So I went back to the doctor, and at that time it was confirmed that I had large fibroids. That 1/4 size fibroid grew into about 9 centimeters, and that was one of them. I had a total of 4 fibroids. So you can see how the symptoms can be very, very subtle.
Within what period?
8 years.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah. So the fibroids grew progressively large. And not only that, mentally and emotionally, I was very unstable because after competing, I kind of lost my purpose in life because I was, doing shows. I was doing bodybuilding for so long. I'm like, where does my life go now? So I felt lost. I was still working as a nurse, yet not fulfilled. I was not fulfilled. I feel like that added to the stress and the hormonal imbalance. And I want to go back to what fibroids are. Because if you go look up fibroids, it'll tell you they're benign tumors, they're masses, they're this, they're that. I want to keep it simple. When you can see the prerequisites that lead up to fibroids, they start with hormonal imbalance.
Huh.
So I want you to think about it like this. Think about your body as a company, okay? Think about the hormones as the messenger, okay? So if the company falls apart, right, then it can result, if the messengers are not communicating effectively, the company can fall apart, right? Same thing with the body. So if the hormones are not communicating effectively, it results in miscommunication and systems, organs, just your whole body is not in alignment. And that leads to chronic stress of a particular system called the lymphatic system.
Okay.
The lymphatic system is our garbage disposal system. Okay. When you think about, emotionally not being in a good place, right? Not happy, poor diet, stress, poor sleep, you start to have a lot of buildup. And if our lymphatic system is not working as it should, it'll cause physical masses in areas that are vulnerable to our body,
okay,
like the uterus. And it can cause buildup of waste, toxic buildup. And once upon a time, you couldn't see it. But as the buildup continues to happen, the garbage disposal system continues to get backed up. It starts to form physical manifestations of toxic buildup, and that is fibroids.
I see. Where did you get the solution? The solution you are giving people now?
Yeah. So the solution is called the unique holistic formula. I embarked on that when I learned that the fibroids grew to almost 9 centimeters, one of them. I then was told by my doctor, Phyllis, these are your options. Myomectomy, surgery, hysterectomy, taking out, your uterus, birth control. So as he continued to talk, Derrick, I completely went somewhere else. The room went dark. To imagine as a woman that your livelihood, your uterus is in a vulnerable state, that it's not working to, potentially not be in a place to have children, to be in constant pain, suffering. I'm like, oh no. So as the room went dark, doctor kept talking. I left. I left the doctor's office. I bursted out in tears. I thought about my mom, and I thought, you know what? Again, determined Phyllis, there has to be another way. There has to be another way. I got home. After a couple weeks, I think I went into depression. I was dealing with this alone. I did not want to tell my parents because they were for surgery. My dad was like, oh, you have to go get surgery. Do this, you do that. And the thing is, we've had many women in our family who resulted in getting surgery, but also resulted in getting a hysterectomy. And I just knew that wasn't going to work for me, right? And once it took some time, but one day, Derrick, I was compelled to just get up and get myself ready because I've been wearing the same clothes for the last 3 weeks because I was just like that much in an emotional slump about what happened, right? That I was like, I got to do something. So I embarked on a video from a healer. His name is Joe Dispenza. He bridges science and, he bridges spirituality and science. And I started to listen to his teachings. After a while, I started to get really motivated. Not only him, I started to listen to other healers who were told that they needed surgery, but they found another way. And I was like, that's it. That message that I got to just hang tight, Phyllis, there's going to be something that's going to come to you. And it was that video. So I started to just really just embrace many different healers, started to follow them. After about 6 months, I came up with my own way of looking at things because I thought I did everything that research told me to do.
Yep.
I worked out, I became a vegan, I was a vegetarian, I became a personal trainer. I mean, I went to nursing school. I did all the things, and I still ended up with large fibroids. What is it? I realized that, Derrick, our environment, our thought process, what we feel on a day-to-day highly affect how our bodies operate. Yeah. I realized that me not being fulfilled in life, living a life full of chronic stress, not taking time for myself, affected the way my body worked. So I was living a life of buildup and not releasing. It affected my lymphatic system. It affected every part of me where I was literally creating a lot of garbage. And that is what fueled fibroids to grow. So the unique holistic formula is a step-by-step system. It's literally about reprogramming the body, mind, and spirit back to balance. And how does this happen? Number one, we provide resources that allow you to reactivate your body's natural detox system, which is the lymphatic system. We do this through womb-centered workouts. They're called womb wellness workouts. So these workouts are about helping circulation, also helping you emotionally reground. And the movements really cater to exercising the lymph nodes, areas of the body that help the lymphatic system. Number two is providing resources that surround herbs, herbal support, as well as cellular nutrition. So eating foods that decrease chronic inflammation, eating foods that are going to help your immune system, increase your minerals and essential vitamins you need to boost your lymphatic system. Number three is using tracking systems other than the medical approach, which is like an ultrasound or MRI. Those are great scans to confirm that you have growths, but to use that as a way of follow-up and checking the progress can be a bit off. Why? Well, an ultrasound, MRI, is not going to tell you what caused fibroids in your body.
Okay.
So how can it tell you how it's being eliminated, how the root of the issue is being eliminated? Because Fibroids are masses, but they are filled with chronic inflammation, waste, toxic buildup. So if we address the prerequisites that got us here, right, using a tracking system to measure the hormonal imbalance symptoms that are being eliminated, like addressing the bloating through your cellular nutrition, addressing the bloating through eating the right foods, moving your body that really exercises your womb. When it comes to even the fatigue, I have a doctor that's part of my team. We do personalized blood work because fibroids are fueled from your blood. You know, you think about getting an oil change.
Yep.
If you don't get the oil change, you're going to have a lot of buildup. Eventually, the engine is going to break down, right? Same thing. Engine is the uterus. If we don't clean out our bodies with living a purposeful life, right? You know, paying attention to our needs, good cellular nutrition, working out in a way that exercises our nervous system to get rid of chronic stress, cleaning out our body, we will result in buildup. So through cellular nutrition, through herbal support, personalized blood work, using that as insight to what a woman needs, what you need in order to ensure that your body is able to boost the lymphatic system, as well as guidance and support and emotional regrounding. I know stress is a big thing, chronic stress.
Yep.
And knowing how to manage it is very limited
Yep.
on resources. So, yeah.
Let me stop you here for a minute. If you've been watching this show, I want you to subscribe and become part of the family. We are on a journey of changing the lives of people on this channel. And we appreciate you for being here. But if you haven't become part of the family, connect with us. Hit the subscribe button. Now let's carry on the conversation. Fibroid Queen.
Yeah.
You've helped hundreds of women eliminate fibroid and, maintain hormonal balance. But what I really want to understand is that the 4 you had, what's happened to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had 4 fibroids. The largest one was 9 centimeter.
Yep.
There was another one that was 7, 4, and then 2. Okay. So the 9 centimeter left a scar. So it's called calcification. So my last ultrasound showed the scar of that fibroid being so large, right, where it's now dormant, inactive. And then the other 3 eliminated naturally using this unique,
Really?
Yes, using this unique holistic formula. And that's the thing that is so dynamic, is that our bodies can heal when we provided the right resources. So using this formula for about a year, I realized that a lot of the bloating, the pain started to go away.
Okay.
And after I was able to get to the symptoms that resulted in the fibroids, then you leave the fibroids in a vulnerable state. They no longer have the fuel to survive.
Okay.
So they either shrivel, shrink, and depending on where they're at on the uterus, they will become inactive. And then the lymphatic system can come in and clean it out. So when we think about our lymphatic system being that garbage disposal system, and understanding that once we address our bodies as a high priority, once we give our bodies what it needs and live a life of balance, there's no room for fibroids to grow.
I would have loved to see a picture of you before and after.
Yeah, I actually have it here.
Great. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Stick with me.
Yes. So this is a client of mine, but this is my before and after.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was told that I had like a 6-month pregnancy.
You actually look like you're pregnant. Okay. So this was Fibroid Queen before, And this is her after. How many years ago did you take this picture?
Oh, this was last year.
Last year. And how many years ago was this?
That was about 7 years ago.
So how long did it take you to go from here to here?
So that took about 2 years.
2 years?
Yes, yes.
And you haven't gone through any surgery to make this happen?
Oh, no. No surgeries, no drugs, no procedures, none of that. Just strictly using a formula, changing my lifestyle.
Do you think, wait, you had to become a lot more healthier before you could achieve this?
Yeah, I had to become a lot more
healthier. And you think
healthier.
the reason why this could have carried on was because you were not as healthy as you're supposed to be?
Not as healthy, not as aligned with who I wanted to be, right? You know, I feel like emotionally.
Okay, so how much of this is more spiritual than physical? In terms of, you know, your mental health, how much of this?
That's such a great question. I would say 90% of it. 90% of it.
Wow.
Yes. And that's where the medical system falls, is because of that spiritual, energetic standpoint of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some of the other people you've worked with.
So this is a client who had very large fibroids. I get that question often. It's like, is this possible with large fibroids? And as you can see, she had like a 9-month pregnancy. And within, I want you to guess from the before and after, how long do you think that was?
I mean, look, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Right? Because it looks like for anyone who is clueless about what we are talking about, you would think she's just worked out to get here.
Yeah.
Right? She just had you know what I mean? She just had a lot of, abdominal fat. But what you're saying is that this is, did you see scans to prove that she had fibroids? She's got fibroids here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Large fibroids there.
You wanted me to guess how long? I think it's probably about, same as you, 2 years?
30 days.
Nah.
Yes, 30 days.
Nah.
Yes.
It took her,
30 days.
Why did it take you 2 years and it took your client 30 days?
So talk about refinement of the formula, talking about understanding what the body needs. And the more of my just experience, I was able to really solidify this, because I went through I've had hundreds of clients, and using them to really progress and foster the development of this formula called the unique holistic formula.
So for this client of yours, and I'm by no means, endorsing this. I'm just having a great conversation with Phyllis here, because this is what she does. I think she's done a great job. The reason she's seated here because I think people can benefit from what she teaches and what she offers, right? But it's just incredible because, look, I had a friend, right, who had fibroids, and unfortunately, she had to go through the operation, and now she can't have kids. And I can imagine how she's thinking right now.
Yes.
So seeing this, the question is, can she have kids after she goes through your method?
Yes. We've helped many women who were told that they were infertile, who had cycles that were so off, unregulated, who were told that due to their condition that, it's not only that they can't conceive, they have to resort into surgery and be on a medication for the rest of their life. We've been, like most of the women that come through the program have been in that state.
And you've been able to solve
I have
the fibroid issue, hormonal imbalance, and then also they can be fertile again.
Yeah. We've had many women have healthy pregnancies, no surgery, like healthy pregnancies with and without fibroids. And that's the thing, that's a huge myth that just because you have fibroids, you can't conceive. The thing is, many women are walking around here with fibroids on their uterus, but they have no idea because it hasn't, became a problem. So if many women are walking around, with hormonal imbalances, potentially tumors on their uterus, if we were to get this early, if we were to do practices that's beyond just the standard approach to getting healthy, we can allow the body to heal the way it needs to heal.
And if you look at the stats that 80% of African women by the age of 50 would have had it. That's quite high. Yeah. And, that confirms the fact that what you're saying, that, most people are walking around and they have maybe very small, negligible, because it's not causing any problems. They're not too concerned about it.
And Derrick, I want to also mention this. This is for all women to know, because most of us are dealing with some type of hormonal imbalance, right? Just because you don't have fibroids doesn't mean you're not bloated. Doesn't mean you're not dealing with heavy flow, tired all the time, right? Feeling like you have skin issues. That is the signs that we need to pay attention to, because those signs increase, it will form a disease. It will form a tumor.
If I'm a woman that comes to you with fibroids, and then you take me through your system, great, spiritual health, physical health, diet and exercise, whatnot, everything. And then the problem has been solved, maybe after 2 years. Can I still go back to eat my meat? I want to go back to my previous lifestyle, because maybe they did it purely because they wanted the problem to be solved. Yeah. But now, they miss their dieting the old way. Can they go back?
Yeah, that's a great question. The question is, what was your previous lifestyle? Was it full of chronic stress? Was it full of not making yourself a priority? Poor diet, poor sleep? And it's like, once you've been able to heal and really have this new way of looking at life, more passion, more purpose, why would you want to go back to that old lifestyle?
Great question.
Yeah, why would you want to go back? And this is not a restrictive way of living. This is a cultivating way, an abundant way of looking at life. So yes, you could have your kenkey and fufu. I still have those things, but I have it in moderation. And I understand that my relationship is food is not about just living to eat.
Okay.
Right? But to really live life to my fullest. And having that awareness has helped me make better decisions, not just about my womb health, but my womb wealth as well. So
love that. I can see you have.
Yeah. So
that's.
Yeah. So 30 days, she was able to have these results. So
30 days.
30 days of following the formula 80% of the time.
So tell me, what did this client of yours have to do?
Okay. So her day-to-day looked like making an hour for herself. Like, you put it on your calendar like an appointment. So that hour consisted of, attending a womb wellness workout. I teach these workouts live, right? It's about 60 minutes of flowing movements that, again, encourage the lymphatic system. Another day can be of doing emotional regrounding. That could be meditation. That could be journaling, a way to release your emotions, a way to declutter your mind, right? Another day can look like meal prepping, following a plan. Like, you're given a plan on how to eat based on your body type, your blood type, so that way you get the most results, right? Another day can look like giving yourself a lymphatic massage, massaging your womb, helping to, optimize the workings of your liver, right? So there are practices within this formula that you do consistently, day to day, to help reactivate your body's garbage disposal system. And the more we can do that, we will start by eliminating the symptoms that you often miss, and it'll work up into starving the actual tumor.
Why do you think the way you do it is not as popular as the conventional way?
That's a great question. The conventional way is very temporary, right? Your doctor tells you have a fibroid, you have something growing on your uterus. First thing is usually surgery. Like, that's the standard approach, is a myomectomy, where they go in and cut the fibroids off. However, that's like plucking a chin hair, right? You pluck a chin hair, what happens? It grows. You said it earlier, if the soil is not addressed, it will continue to grow. So we have to address more than just physically removing the fibroid, but what's in the blood? What's the environment look like inside the body? Because it's a breeding ground, right? So if we just cut the fibroids, they will grow back.
And they do grow back?
And they do grow back.
After about how many years?
For most women, I've seen as little as 6 months.
Okay, so how did your mom solve her problem?
She ended up getting a hysterectomy.
Right, and did it grow back?
So with a hysterectomy, that's where they take out the uterus. Okay, so they take out the uterus.
No chance.
Yeah, so it's no longer called a fibroid because we have a uterus for a reason. So once we have an organ being removed out of the body has to compensate somehow, right? So if you remove the uterus, now we have other organs having to come up and take position. So that can leave a woman vulnerable to heart disease, blood pressure issues, other hormonal issues because the issue hasn't been addressed. Even though you remove the uterus, you still haven't solved the hormonal imbalance, the chronic inflammation that's in the body.
Wow. This lady I've got here, it took her 30 days from her before to after. This is, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
30 days.
Yeah. So you can see how the fibroids are dropping. So it's like it's almost detaching from the uterus in the after picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Let me stop you here for a minute. If you've been watching this show, I want you to subscribe and become part of the family. We are on a journey of changing the lives of people on this channel. And we appreciate you for being here. But if you haven't become part of the family, connect with us. Hit the subscribe button. Now let's carry on the conversation. Now, how do you think husbands can support their wives who are dealing with these problems?
Absolutely. Because this is not just a woman issue. Like, again, this affects businesses, this affects employees, your wives, your daughters, right? And just imagine if the women that you care for in your life had this information where they don't have to go through excruciating periods, fatigue, really affecting their quality of life due to these symptoms. What if you had this information? So I want to tell our men that you are appreciated and you can provide support by sharing this information, number one, and educating yourself like you are now on the symptoms to look for, because it can look like your partner not wanting to have sex. It can look like her feeling tired all the time, feeling low in confidence, gaining all this weight, even after they're having a baby, but not being able to lose it. So helping her with being there, asking how you can help, educating yourself on what hormonal imbalances look like, getting her connected with groups, resources that talk about how to get to the root of the issue, how to naturally heal the body. And with that alone, we can get very far to really help our women, because sometimes we as women don't even realize what's going on ourselves.
I heard some stories that, the hair and beauty products that a lot of African ladies use, can affect them. It can cause a lot of hormonal imbalance, which can ultimately lead to fibroids. Is that true?
That's very true. And it's a chemical, right? It's a chemical that we're applying on our scalp. It is absorbed into our skin, into our body, and it's now, taking space within our insides.
So you recommend a lot of your clients to go natural?
I will.
Is that what you do to them?
I do.
Do they have to?
They don't have to go natural, but I do recommend a way to decrease your exposure to toxins is to go natural. Yes.
Okay. Now, if you had, if I came to you right now and then I asked you, what are the 3 things you're going to help me do right now without paying for a course, without paying for your time, what would it be for my audience?
Yeah. So number 1, when it comes to dealing with fibroids, you're dealing with symptoms, you're trying to avoid it, prevent it. Number 1 is looking at what you're eating. Eliminate dairy. Dairy is no fairy. Dairy has no place in our nutrition. It actually speeds up chronic inflammation. It also has no nutrient benefit. And there's so many options out there for dairy-free alternatives. So eliminate dairy. Dairy is interfering with our body's way of working. It's causing a lot of backup, a lot of mucus, okay? Number 2 is having a way of dealing with stress. We don't realize the stressors, the triggers in our life that is causing our body to get out of balance, that are affecting our nervous system. You know, we have a system that helps us react when there is danger. You know, it helps us think on how to get to safety. However, that system is constantly activated every day. And it could be as simply as talking to your boss, right? Your boss is calling you and you're feeling panicky.
Yeah.
Your mom is calling you. Something happened. So having a way to deal with stress that allows you to emotionally be stable. So a stress relief practice.
Yep.
And the last thing I would say is movement, right? Every couple hours, set your alarm to move your body, stretch, walk outside, get some sun. One of the major triggers to fibroid growth is lack of vitamin D, lack of hormone D, I would say. So getting outside, walking, getting a breath of fresh air, doing more of exercises that make you happy, spending more time with activities, people that bring the best out of you, and getting away from negativity, pressure, stress. Those are the 3 things I would say is ensuring that you're incorporating more fruits and veggies, warding off dairy. Number 2, having an emotional regrounding practice that helps you relieve stress, manage it.
Yeah.
And number 3 is doing more things that make you happy in life.
Amazing. All right. So I can see, you had a few other things to show us. Can you take us through some of the props you brought and explain things to us?
Absolutely. So I wanted to give a visual of what fibroids can look like on the uterus. So this is a uterus, and fibroids can be as small as, a pea to as big as a watermelon. So these are some small fibroids that are on the uterus. And depending on the type, of a fibroid will determine, where it's located. However, regardless of the size, as long as a woman is not in an unstable condition, this formula can work for her.
Okay. Because
at the end of the day, the root of the issue is the same whether the fibroid is big or small.
So how then does it, because I know that's the fallopian tube, right? So how then does it stop people from getting pregnant?
That's a great question. So depending on the fibroid location, so where it's located.
Okay.
Like you see the fibroids here, but it can grow anywhere. It can grow on the fallopian tubes, right? It can grow inside the uterus where the baby would normally grow.
Okay, so what's the problem? Why can't they grow together?
So knowing that a fibroid is a accumulation of waste and toxic buildup, it can actually compete with the fetus.
Okay.
Again, based on the environment, right? Because they're bloodsuckers. So knowing that they feed off the blood, feed off the chronic inflammation, and then you have a growing fetus, that can create a lot of stagnation, where we've had a lot of women end up miscarrying because they had fibroids as well as, a growing baby. So I don't want to alleviate and say that that can't happen. It can. However, once you are on a lifestyle that helps your body work efficiently, right? Your systems are all in alignment, your hormones, there's no way that fibroids can continue to grow.
I see. Thank you. What's the next one you want to show us?
Oh, that was it.
Okay, amazing. So my next question to you is there anything that I could have asked you that I didn't, that you think my audience should know?
Yeah. I think your audience should know that the status quo is not the only way. I really feel that we've been conditioned to believe that this is the only way to do something, but I really want to challenge and empower you all to know that you can set your reality by your mindset. So I really want to empower you all to really think outside the box when it comes to your health and the type of life and what you want out of life.
Amazing. And the surprise questions are motivation or discipline?
Motivation or discipline? I'm going to say motivation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I say motivation because I feel like that is the prerequisite to discipline.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is, I'd love to take the best advice you've ever received.
Oh my, I have so many of them. The best advice I've ever received. Is from a woman. She was in her 80s. And this was when I was a nurse. She was literally on her deathbed. And she told me, Phyllis, live life to the fullest. Doesn't matter how you do it. Just find your happy place in everything that you do. And that's what I live by.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for advising me. And now I'd love you to recommend a book for my audience.
Yeah, I would like to recommend The Sacred Woman by Queen Afua. And that is a book that I read when I first was diagnosed with fibroids. I feel like it's a great introduction on a lot of what I shared, but also helping you understand how miraculous your body is, how amazing we are as women, and how our environment really shapes our reality. So, The Sacred Woman by Queen Afua.
Amazing. I've just had a great conversation with Coach Phyllis, who's also known as the Fibroid Queen. Now, we've just discussed an alternative way of dealing with hormonal imbalance, of taking care of your fibroids. A lot of the time, as a young person, when you're growing up, you come across some ladies saying that their periods are very painful, they have painful sex, there's a lot of blood coming. Especially if you have sisters in the house, sometimes these things can happen and you don't even know how to help them. And I hope this conversation is going to give you some information that would, if it's not in your family, great, but send it to somebody. Just send it to someone because somebody somewhere is going to benefit from this. But I hope you've enjoyed it. My name is Derrick Abaitey. Stay connected.